welcome to Senior Moments Successful Aging. I'm Mary Beals-Luedtka, your host. I'm the Area Agency on Aging Director with NACOG, and you can reach us toll-free at 877-521-3500. Senior Moments Successful Aging is co-sponsored with Yavapai College Division of Lifelong Learning. It's co-produced with Connie Vargas, and you can reach her at 928-717-7755, and Allie Bateman at the Area Agency on Aging at that toll-free number, 877-521-3500. My guest today is David Seigler. Hi, Dave.
How you doing, Mary?
I'm really good. Thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
We've been talking about this. We just finally got around to it. David is the Executive Director for New Horizons.
New Horizons Disability Empowerment Center. I got to add that because if you Google New Horizons, you'll be looking at Mars. And then you'll be looking at 10 other agencies of different kinds who like that title, New Horizons.
You're right.
So we like to really talk about the Disability Empowerment Center and the Disability Empowerment Campus.
And I'm glad you brought that up because you're an important partner of ours at the Area Agency on Aging. And David, you come from ASU in nonprofit management, and you have a bachelor's degree from there. And you worked a lot with boys and girls in Scottsdale. I know you've done a lot of work in the Valley. But you've also been around in this area for quite a while, too.
I grew up in Prescott, so it was always, once I graduated from college, it was a matter of trying to come back. But then I had married and children, and trying to come back to Prescott after working in Phoenix was a severe pay cut, especially in the nonprofit field. So it took me a little while. Eventually, I found an opportunity with Yavapai Big Brothers Big Sisters. And they brought me on as a vice president for fundraising, solved some problems, matched the kids, built the building, and then the economy crashed. And it crashed hard. And they were paying me a pretty decent wage. And they offered me a chance to stay on for about 30% of that as the economy had crashed. And I said, no, I'd go bankrupt at that rate.
Yeah.
I'll go work for my dad and sell insurance or something. And that was a horrible choice because that was health insurance. And Obamacare kind of eliminated the health insurance salesman, or at least changed it drastically. And so that was a bad idea. And I was losing everything. I was going bankrupt, losing my house. The economy was dead. We were looking at possibly having to leave the Prescott area to try to find work. But instead, we got creative and we opened up a little food booth at the fairs and the festivals, and that became a restaurant on Whiskey Row. We serve fair food and late night fare, and it's called the Devil's Pantry. But doing that, I was delivering food up to the Jersey Lily Bar, which for those who don't know is more of a gentleman's bar.
Yes.
And I went up there, and the owner of that bar wanted to introduce me to his friend who had a nonprofit challenge question. And the gentleman was Nick Perry.
I know Nick well.
He's the chairman of my board, and he is a wonderful man.
Yes, he is.
A great man. And he asked me what would we do if we were a nonprofit that was financially challenged in the extreme, operating in the red, and somebody gave us a 9,000 square foot commercial building as a gift. I said, well, I'd run away. You can't afford to pay attention. You can't afford to pay the taxes and the renovations and all of that. He goes, no, we already accepted it. What would you do with it? And when I was working for the United Way in Phoenix many years ago, the CEO took me under his wing and let me sit in some high-level meetings, fly on the wall type thing. And I met the people from ABLE, Arizona Bridge to Independent Living, who had just received some sort of a mega gift. And they didn't want to endow. They didn't want to put that in the bank and live off of that interest. They wanted to transform themselves into something more valuable to their constituency. And they became Ability 360 and built the Disability Empowerment Campus in Phoenix.
Which is amazing.
3-story sports and fitness center, 2 swimming pools with cranes to get people with disabilities out of their chair and into the water. It's an amazing place.
I know.
And I said, Nick, that's what I would do, is I would create a campus, Yavapai County sized, that would house other agencies that would help the same population in different ways, so we could share resources, save money, serve people quicker and better. And we brought in the American Legion. We brought in Ability 360 for home care, but now we have special fast-track veterans programs. So if a veteran comes in need, we can get them connected with jobs, with small groups, with food, with transportation, with VA care, whatever that they might need, we can get them there. And it's really done a lot for the community. I mean, you probably have seen my buses and my vans. They're everywhere. I got 24 of them.
But back up. So you answered the question for Nick.
Oh, yes.
And now you're there.
Well, I answered the question for Nick, and he said, "You want the job?"
Yeah.
And I said, "Oh, heck no, I got a restaurant I'm operating. I'm busy." And I went home and told my wife this funny story. And my wife kind of started to hit me about the head and shoulders and suggested I would much rather go back into service rather than
Right.
serve people drunk at night and be at work until 4 in the morning. And she was right. So I went back to Nick and I begged him for the opportunity, and I took the position about 3.5 years ago.
And so, and let's go back to that, so you have created a campus, because I've been there, and I remember, New Horizons, again, is the independent living center for our region.
Yes.
And when you talk about ABLE 360, they are the independent living center for the Phoenix area.
Right. People may not know, when the Americans with Disabilities Act was signed by President George Bush Sr., it created the necessity and the funding stream to create centers for independent living. These are organizations of people with disabilities whose focus is to help others with disabilities live independently, stay in control, regain their liberty. And that's what all the centers across the country do.
Right.
But we all have regions that we serve. The needs that we have in Yavapai County or in northern Arizona are significantly different than the needs that they have in Phoenix,
Right, exactly.
or Tucson, or Yuma, or other metropolis. So where in Phoenix they don't have any vans. They don't deal with transportation because you've got the light rail, you've got buses, you've got all kinds of things.
We don't
there.
have that up here.
Here we have very limited transportation, so we help people with disabilities get to work, get to the doctor, get to visit their Aunt Sally, get where they have to go. And a lot of times insurance will pay for that. And as I mentioned, we collaborate with a lot of other nonprofits to make sure that everybody gets what they need.
And we really appreciate that, because you're one of our biggest transportation providers, from the Area Agency on Aging. And yeah, I do see your vans everywhere. I see Mountain Dewey and Mayor.
You can see them across the entire state. We serve all of northern Arizona except for Navajo, because there's a still there. So we're up in Kingman, Bullhead City, Laughlin, Payson. We take people out of town and out of state sometimes. If they start here and they need to go see a specialist in Benson, we'll take them there.
You take them there.
Yeah. Now, that is, transportation is the only service that we provide that there is a fee for.
Right, right.
So we have to let that know. It's not the free thing. But we have a lot of free activities that are fabulous, too.
So back to the campus dream.
Okay.
How did that start? And where are you now?
Well, how it started was they had this big building, and their old building, they only took up about 1,800 square feet at the maximum. And so we had a lot of extra space. So we started it was an empty building. They had almost no walls, no infrastructure on the inside, like a big warehouse with a special room on one side. That was a dance room. They had hardwood floors and mirrors. So we looked at the room, and then I started to collect partners who had an idea that they wanted to be there, and I told them I'd build it to suit them. So when the American Legion said that they wanted to be there, that was a big stretch for us. We're a fragrance-free facility. There's no drinking and no smoking, and I'm a Legionnaire member. So most of the time we go to a bar, we drink, and we smoke, and we go on motorcycle rides. I didn't see how that would fit, and I asked them specifically, I said, how does this work? Why would you want to be here? What do you guys do? He said, oh, we're a non-drinking, non-smoking post. That was a surprise.
That's new.
I said, well, what the heck do you guys do? And he said, we serve veterans. And I said, oh, I'm a disabled veteran. I respect that a great deal. And I said, then how can we help? He said, we need 2 offices, and we have this other group that's with us. It's called the Full Throttle Biker Church. It's where Legion members and other members can come in wearing leather and looking like bikers and not offending anybody. They can still praise and worship any way that they want, and they don't feel out of place. And that's a fabulous thing on Sunday mornings at the Disability Empowerment Center, which is at 9400 East Valley Road on the corner of Valley and Mendocino in Prescott Valley. And when we built the facility, knowing that the American Legion was coming in, I built a kitchen area with an outlet every 3 feet. because I do know what the Legion likes to do is have potlucks.
Yeah.
And I wanted to make sure that they had space so that they could come in there and plug in their 10 little crock pots and get things
And
going.
the warmer plates.
Yeah, and get everything going for them. So we built that to suit them. We built their offices the way that they wanted. And we included a great room that we can use as a multi-purpose room for meetings for other nonprofits, for other groups, for trainings. We do a lot of job training there. And on Sundays, it's a church with a full band and great seating, and it holds about 45, 50 people
Nice.
or so. And we also do our graduations there for our various classes and the different things. And then I started talking to the 360 in Phoenix about their best practices. What do they do that's really working for them? And where do they get their money from? That's a $32 million a year budget.
Yeah.
And in disability services, on a scale of 1 to 10 for most donors, we're about 12. We're not quite as cute as puppies or as compelling as hungry children, but we are the largest the largest minority group in this country. And when things start to go bad for us, we have power and influence if we join together. So that's the idea, is to get everybody in, teach them what we're all about, and start making some action. And it's been working fabulously well. The campus has a free computer room where we teach the basics. You want to learn how to turn on your computer, maybe set up a Facebook account or Instagram, we can do that for you. We can make sure that you know how to work your messages so you don't deal with spam much. I mean, we got hit where people were telling us that they were my accountant and they were me and asking for personal information, phishing and that type of stuff. So we teach people, especially seniors, how to avoid getting scammed. We have the Sports and Fitness Center. We call it the No Judgment Gym. We have equipment in there specially designed for people in wheelchairs. So if you're in a wheelchair, you want to work some cardio, you go in and you do a hand cycle. At the same time, the gentleman that runs my gym, Andrew Bogdanoff, he has hand cycles. He makes them. So people who don't have the full use of their legs can go out and go biking on the street with their friends. It's an amazing thing if you live in a wheelchair and never thought you'd be able to be active. And we get them involved in sports. We started the only wheelchair basketball team in northern Arizona. We are very excited about that.
So are you going to challenge Able down the road?
Down the road, yes.
Down
right
the
now,
road.
we're partnering with them
Right.
because, a wheelchair, a sport chair,
Yeah, it's expensive.
oh my gosh, $4,000 for just the basic sport model. If you want to play rough sports, they have wheelchair rugby.
Really?
In fact, Ability 360 in Phoenix is the championship team in the country.
Yeah, I knew. Yeah.
Amazing.
That's why I said
wheelchair
down the
rugby.
road.
Can you imagine? That's a very rough sport, and those chairs cost about $6,500 each, and you got to have 5 or 6. So, Ability has those chairs. We go down and borrow them.
Oh, fun! They let you do that.
Yes, and they've loaned us some really fantastic
Phil
stuff.
is the director for Able is
a fabulous
man.
guy. In fact, we had a board member who was really into golf and wanted to do a golf tournament. We brought from Able 2 golf carts made for wheelchair riders. It's called a stand up and play. They strap themselves into this chair, and when they approach the ball, it stands them up so they can get a full golf swing. It was check out our website, nhdec.org. We've got pictures of that going on.
Oh, wow.
Changes the sport forever for people with disabilities. We also take them out 2 times a year. We take part in a program called Day at the Lake. We brought down, I think, about 25 people last year at 2 different times. We joined a large group, hundreds of people down at Bartlett and Canyon Lake, and we go wheelchair water skiing, wheelchair kayaking, boating, fishing. We get people out there doing things. The wheelchair water skiing is one
I
of
want to
the
go back to that.
most
Please explain
incredible
that.
things I've ever seen. It is a chair
Okay.
where the participant would strap in.
Okay.
It's got 3 skis, 2 on the sides and 1 up in the middle. So it keeps them balanced as they get up, and then they hydroplane up in that last ski. And it's an amazing thing.
Oh,
and out there water skiing. Now, when they tumble, you got jet skiers right there
Okay. I'm like, oh my God, crash.
to make sure, yeah, because skiers fall, that's part of skiing.
Well, yeah.
I always said when I snow skied, If you weren't falling, you weren't trying hard enough.
Yeah.
So when the water skier tumbles down, the jet skis go down there, the lifeguards jump in, make sure he's up and ready to go, and they get him going again.
How fun is that?
We brought down 9 guys from the VA DOMs and a bunch of people from around town, and we paid for that in full, so it didn't cost the participants a dime. We partner with some really great people, Becky DeRocha from the VA, and the person who puts it on, whose name just escaped me. I apologize to her.
Well, that's all right.
But it's a fabulous event, and that's what we try to do, is get people out and engaged, let them live the fullest, most self-directed life possible. If others are caring for you, they start to make decisions for you, and sometimes that's just not right. Sometimes we can do anything that anybody else can do, we just do it differently.
And give us some tools.
Yeah. My gym coordinator is in a wheelchair, which makes guys like me, I'm a disabled vet, but I'm pretty functional, so I can walk in. I haven't been to a gym in 20 years. I'm not about to start working out with a big, thick-necked guy named Gunther. But I go in there, and Andrew's a pretty big boy. He's been working out for a long time. But that doesn't intimidate me, because he understands when I start to say I can't do that because my back won't allow it. He knows I'm not just copping out, because he's been there too. And that's really the function of the Center for Independent Living, is to understand what everybody's going through, because we've been through it, and to help them get through it as easily as possible, as comfortably as possible. Help them get control of their life again so they can go water skiing and go out to social activities. One of the groups that we have is called Dave's Out to Lunch Bunch. And it's not me, Dave. We had a client named Dave who passed away about a year ago. But he contacted us one day. He said, I'm feeling kind of bored and lonely. Do you want to go out to lunch? And the program coordinator said, yes, let's call a few people. And they brought out about 6 or 8 people. They just went to lunch and had some fun. And we do that monthly now. We've been doing that for about 5, 6 years now.
Fun.
It's just a nice activity to go out. And we go to different places. We go out to the Lynx Lake restaurant. We go to Cracker Barrel. Trying to get them down to Devil's Pantry once or twice, but it's not exactly the healthiest food sometimes. So we want to give people options. But we trying to get out there and have a lot of fun. But one of the biggest challenges that we have goes back to that donor idea of being number 12 on a scale of 1 to 10. We're not quite as compelling sometimes as a hungry child or a dog or a cat or a pet. Even the environment can be very, very compelling. When you look at a broad stroke of helping any person with any disability, that's what we do. It makes it hard to find a donor who's like, wow, I love what you guys done. You saved our lives. Here's $10,000. We don't get a lot of that. No. We get a lot of grants. We get a little bit of government funding, and that sends us through a loop with the shutdown. The
shutdown has really affected you?
Yes and no. We knew it was coming, and about 30% of my funding comes directly through the feds, so we prepared for that. And it wasn't going to be easy, but we were going to be tight, and we were going to be fine. And then I found out that about 30% of my other vendors get their money directly from the feds. So all of a sudden we had this huge gap. And now that the shutdown is done, they're dealing with things that started 2 months ago, and they'll get to ours in a few months. So the large sums of money that we are contracted that they're going to be paying us, we've already spent. And it's taking 2 or 3 months to get that in. Now, I know the people that I work with ADOT and with SIMPO are hardworking, are dedicated to what they're doing. This is not on the individuals that we're dealing with. Of course not. And I'm not going to get political about it, but it did have some impact. It slowed some money down for a period of months, and it's continuing to slow down because the bill that we just submitted yesterday.
Well, there's a ripple effect.
Yeah,
there's a ripple effect.
And when you're operating on such a thin line.
Well, let's talk about, when we're looking at the center as a whole, the broad sweep, what are some of your greatest needs?
We spent the first 2 years really doing some needs assessments of our community to find out what they need. Because what we need is what you need. If you need it and it's not being done, we step in. That's what we want to do. In fact, when we're expanding our services, we just expanded our transportation out to Mojave County, Kingman area, all the way down to Laughlin and Havasu. we were contacted by other providers of transportation saying, what are you doing here? Do we need to worry about you? And I said, no.
Yeah.
We're looking for what's not being done. I don't want to compete with anybody. I want to collaborate to make sure that whatever the services are being done, that we can close in those gaps and help people. I mean, and it gets so ridiculous sometimes. There was a client who lived 100 yards outside of the boundary.
I know.
And they weren't allowed to pick him up.
I know.
Now, it wasn't us, it was another company, but that was their rule. And they are bound by their rules. So we got the call and we went and picked him up because our rules aren't that formalized yet, and we're not dealing with just government funding, so we can be flexible. And that flexibility that we provide is where we need money. That's our greatest need is cash. But volunteers. I could really use a couple of serious professionals. I could use an attorney who understands disability law to serve on my board.
Okay.
Not to do anything. We're not involved in any legal action. We just want to make sure we're doing it right and that we have an attorney back there.
I have somebody in mind. Okay.
Also, medical professionals who work with people with disabilities. We partner with so many different hospitals and medical facilities, treatment facilities of all kinds. We'd like to have their input as to what we're doing too. And the skilled volunteers. We have a great computer instructor, but he's limited on his time. So, and for people who know special things, Excel.
Oh yeah.
Excel's a tough one.
Yeah, but what a great tool.
Oh, it's fabulous once you know how to use it.
Yeah.
And I hadn't had an Excel class in 10 years. I had to go refresh my memory because I'd forgotten a lot of things. And eventually I had to call some company in town to come in and teach a couple of us. And what I'd like to do is get some volunteers who really understand these computer programs, specific ones, who could come in and teach volunteers and staff and clients how to use these things better.
So really, I mean, you need volunteers.
And we run a lot of small groups. Groups like stroke victims. We also have a stroke mentor course. So if somebody has had a stroke and is recovered to where they're comfortable with sharing, we'll teach them how to be a stroke mentor. They'll go one-on-one with somebody who just had a stroke, just released from the hospital, sees nothing in front of them but fear. And we can come in and show them where the light is at the end of the tunnel and where the bumps are along the way.
And it helps to have somebody who's been through it.
Absolutely. And we do that with arthritis. We do that with fibromyalgia, chronic pain, multiple chemical sensitivities. This is a tough one. People who are MCS, multiply chemically sensitive, they're allergic to everything, to your fabric softener.
And people don't understand that. A lot of people say, oh, they're just making that up. And it's really hard for them in society.
These are people who are allergic to things that you can't even smell.
I know.
To the formaldehyde that's in your drywall.
Yeah.
When we built our campus, it's the only chemically clean building in the Southwest. I don't know of anywhere else, but I've really looked around here. There's no chemicals in my drywall. We have no carpeting.
Which was a challenge when you remodeled, by the way.
Oh, everything was a challenge. To get drywall with no formaldehyde in it costs 65% more, plus shipping, because they don't make it here.
Yeah.
Can't go down to Home Depot and pick it up. Paint, glues, everything that you use to we couldn't use. We had to find chemical-free paint, and I don't mean the VOC-free paint you get at the big box. This is serious stuff. So it costs us a 65% premium on everything to build it.
So we got the volunteers. We need volunteers. Where would they call if they'd like to volunteer?
Local number, 928-772-1266. You can look us up on Google, but you got to remember the disability part of New Horizons, Disability Empowerment Center. Otherwise, you'll be looking at Mars Rover stuff.
And they can always call, my agency too. But we want to make sure that they can contact you. You also had something on here called FRAP. What does that mean?
When we collaborate with other people, other nonprofits, one of the first gaps that we fill is transportation.
Okay.
So we found that we were saying no to people asking for rides because they didn't have a funding stream or because they needed that ride tomorrow instead of in 3 days, which is the way that we operate. So we looked at who those people were, and we found out that they were people calling from other nonprofits, a lot of them, from the VA, from the women's shelter, from the homeless shelter, a number of different nonprofits. So we went to those nonprofits and we said, we'd like to give your people free rides when they need it in a crisis, but we need a contract, some sort of an agreement so we can go to funding sources.
And say, look,
We're going to do this, and we're working together to make sure that this gap is filled. And funding sources that don't like to support transportation, like the city of Prescott, loves to support this program because it makes a difference. It meets a gapped need, and it's relatively inexpensive. We're talking about $10,000, $15,000 worth of transportation per year to fill in all those gaps. So when there's somebody in crisis, we can still meet that need. The second question is who's going to pay, not the first one. And if they don't know, we'll take care of it. We have that funding source, as long as that funding source continues. And that's the other thing that we need most of all, because most of our funding comes through grants and foundations. Many of the largest funders in Yavapai County are invitation only. These are foundations that have been set up with old family money,
right,
that are run by people who's generationally been in town and continue to be in town. And we've been here for 26 years doing this without their help. We'd really like to find somebody who can make that introduction, show them what we're doing so that we can get on that invitation list. Because there are some big funders in town, and they don't focus a lot on disability services.
Yeah, we need to shine a light on that. And one of the things we want to do with Senior Moment, and with the college and area agency and aging, is next fall, come on site with you, and do an on-site show of the campus, and show everybody what you're doing so they can see for themselves.
Absolutely.
And spend some time with you.
Once people see what we're doing, we had a Prescott Valley City Council person who was very offended at my recollection of their transit push. I didn't think that we got treated all that well, and I wasn't happy, and I said so. And she was very upset with me and wanted me out of town, really on a rail. And one of our partners invited her to our gala so she could learn more about what we do. And I watched her head explode on that table. She thought we were a taxi company. Well, we have a lot of vans. And that was all that she knew about. When she found out all of the other different things that we did, she got up from her table and walked up to me and said, "I'm so sorry. I was mistaken." I've never heard a politician say that. She goes, "I want to help. What can I do to help?" She got my vote every year. But that's one of the things that we do. Oh, our gala.
Oh, I know. Real
May
quick.
18th. Look us up.
Look us up
online.
on the website. We're going to post the website. Thank you, David. We're going to have you back because there's so much going on.
I
And,
appreciate it, man.
that's what we need to do. We need to shine a light so that people know that what you do, so they can stand up and say, we want to help. Thank you very much for joining us. Thank you,
all.
David. This is Senior Moment, Successful Aging. I'm Mary Beals-Luedtka. Until next time.